Now available in paperback and e-readers from SJS Direct. ISIS, House of Isis. The goddess next door takes on a hustling Hotep high priestess in Harlem in this Afrocentric ISIS series adventure. Pick up ISIS, House of Isis at online booksellers today. I was watching the Queasy 100's video, Looks Don't Matter as Long as He's White, and I listened to him talk about some of these Negroes in the comments section. And he talked about how some of these Negroes were in the comments section of his videos were asking him to show his chest and show his body. And I found those comments to be quite troubling, but it was not something I hadn't experienced before because I know for a fact that many of these Afro American Negro males are sexually suspect because I've run into these type of sexually suspect Negro men ever since they were boys when I was going to junior high school. And back in junior high school, I would run into many of these sexually suspect Negro men. Now, back at being 12 years old, instinctively there was a light bulb that went off in my head that would say to myself, there is something wrong with some of these Negro men and some of these Hispanic men out here, especially the ones who come from these single mother households. When it comes down to these guys, they participate in some behaviors that are quite troubling, and I saw this at 12 years old. And the first thing that would appear to be troubling to me is when these guys would sit there and ask me if I had a girlfriend. Now I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, why is this 12-year-old boy or this 13-year-old boy asking another boy if he has a girlfriend? Usually that's a question that a female asks another male if they want to see if that male is available. That's not a question another man asks another man, or a boy who asks another man who has been raised around men, because that's something a boy learns in a female headed household because he's been socialized to behave and act like a female. Ordinary boys, they want to talk about basketball, they want to talk about video games. They're not going to ask another male if they are in a relationship with a female. And that's the first sign that you're dealing with a sexually suspect Negro male. Now, another thing I would run into when I was in junior high school and high school are these Negro men who want to talk about they want to hook you up with somebody. Again, if there's a female that is putting out for that male, he's going to keep that female for himself and he's going to keep having a relationship with her. He's not going to try to hook you up with another female. That's another sign that this Negro male is a sexually suspect male because he's sitting there and he's talking about he wants to give you opportunities at sex with females and opportunities with relationships with females, but he's not going to take that opportunity himself. That's some signs that this Negro is a sexually suspect male, and that there's something really wrong with him because when it comes down to these sexually suspect males, they're going to ask those type of questions and they're going to talk about hooking you up because they are insecure about their own sexuality and they're insecure about the masculine energy you're radiating because they're effeminate on the inside and they are not comfortable with the idea of being around a heterosexual and masculine male. When they see a heterosexual and masculine male, they start to get up all in their feelings, they start to get all insecure, they start to get all nervous, and when you do not agree with these type of males, that's when they start to get emotional and that's when they start to get violent. And this is where I had a lot of trouble in junior high school and high school because when it came down to these sexually suspect Negro males, they didn't like the fact that I wanted to stay to myself and I would deal with females when they came my way. They wanted to be the ones who made sure that I did things their way because they were trying to deal with their own sexual feelings and their own sexually suspect feelings. Because when it comes down to this Negro male, a lot of them, again, they are sexually suspect because they have these feelings on the inside of them, but they don't want to deal with them. So they try to take out things on other males who they feel have masculine energy and are secure in their masculinity. They're not comfortable with their own masculinity, so they try to take out their anger and frustration on those who are secure in their masculinity. Now, I would run into these kind of guys again in high school and junior high school, and again, the responses they would give me would be quite troubling. I remember one guy telling me that he would buy me a prostitute. I found that to be quite troubling again, because I sat there and said to myself, why, at 14 years old, why is this other 14-year-old proposing to buy me a prostitute? Something, if he had his own money, he would go and buy for himself. Because a man who wants to get with women, he's not going to do this for another man. He's going to do this for himself, and he's going to look out for himself. But the sexually suspect Negro male, he's always talking about sex with other men because he's insecure about his own sexuality. This is something that most people don't really look at as related to these sexually suspect Negro men, but it's something many of us start to see when we head over from real life, like I did, over to social media. Because when we get to social media, that's when the sexually suspect behavior really starts to be expressed more openly on social media. Because we can take a look at the behaviors of many of these beta male Negroes online, and they show us how deeply mentally disturbed many of these Negroes are, and how deeply sexually suspect many of these Negro males are. Because we have these Negro males on social media, and they will see a black man online radiating masculine energy, expressing their male authority, and being a strong black man on screen. And instead of them looking at the video and listening to the content, and if they disagree with it, just clicking out of it and moving on like a regular man would, these guys, what they will do is they will try to bicker and argue with that man online. And then if that man blocks them, they continue to look to get attention from that man by creating account after account and still trying to drop comments in them even after you block them 10 times. They will create more accounts, and even some of them will go there and try to send you emails. They'll try to keep talking to you. And this is, again, troubling behavior, because an ordinary man will look at a web page featuring content he does not like, opinions he disagrees with, and he's going to hit the red X at the right hand side of his Windows PC and the left hand side of his Macintosh or on his smartphone, and he's going to hit that red X and he's going to keep it moving, because he's going to say that his time is too precious to waste on those who do not agree with his opinion. He's going to say, this guy on social media, he's not that important to me. What's more important to me is what I'm going to have for dinner tonight, or who I'm going to be talking to in my real life. He's not going to sit there and go online and sit there and be on there for hours, sending people emails, creating dummy accounts, following people from one part of social media like YouTube to Facebook to Twitter. And he's not going to keep trying to go back and forth and engaging a man who he has a disagreement with, because the only type of man who's going to do that and look for that type of attention is a beta male who is looking to get the attention of another man. And the reasons why he's probably looking to get the attention of that other man is because, in some cases, this beta male is sexually suspect. And this is something even my family member talked to me about when I was at the bus stop one day. And I was telling her about how these guys used to bully me, and I would always get to some sort of sexual connotation. She said to me, these guys were obviously gay, but they just didn't know it. And I had to think about it and say to myself, yes, she was right. These guys obviously must have been gay, because everything you want to talk about is sexual. Everything you want to talk about is related to sex. Everything is related to you trying to deal with your own sexuality, because when it comes down to these beta males, they oftentimes have a hard time dealing with their own sexuality and their own sexual feelings. And whenever they see a man who is masculine, it makes them uncomfortable to be in his presence, because they know that there's something wrong with them, and those feelings that they have that are wrong with them, they know are inside them. So they want to try to either eliminate this man from their social circle, or they want to try to connect this man with somebody else so that they won't have to deal with their feelings of insecurity and inadequacy regarding their own sexually suspect behavior and their own sexually suspect confused gender identity. Because when it comes down to these guys, they are really confused about their identity because, again, these are males who've been raised usually in female headed households or households with beta males in them. And they don't know how to radiate masculine energy. They don't know how to be a man. And they're really, their whole socialization process is they've been socialized to behave and act just like a female. So when it comes down to these beta males out here, that's why a lot of them are sexually suspect. Yes, they look masculine on the outside. You will see them wearing their sagging pants. You will even see them in a three-piece suit. These guys will look incredibly masculine, but on the inside, they are struggling with their own sexuality and their own male identity. These guys will sit there, they'll be talking about, in some cases, talking about women, but all you have to do is look at their behaviors whenever another man enters a social circle. These guys will be comfortable with other beta males, but when an alpha male or another type sigma male comes in the room, that's when this guy's insecurities are going to start flaring up, and that's when you're going to start seeing this sexually suspect behavior. But online, we really start to see it because that's when these guys start stalking men. I mean, I had a guy when I was doing my blog back in the day, stalked me for close to a year, decided he wanted to make a fake account to try to continue following me. I blocked the Facebook account. I literally had to change my comment section on my blog because this guy just kept following me and kept stalking me. And again, I look at that guy, and again, that's a sign of sexually suspect behavior because, again, ordinary men will look at a blog they do not like, listen to the opinions they do not like, hit the red X on the first blog post that they see that they don't like, and keep it moving. But these codependent, dysfunctional, stalker, sexually suspect Negroes, they can't do that because when it comes down to these guys, they want to attach an emotional hose to another man and they want to continue having a pseudo relationship with that man. And that all, again, is all part of their dysfunctional and sexually suspect behavior because ordinary men, they know when to put a period at the end of things and keep it moving. Ordinary men know that if a man has an opinion they disagree with, they're going to sit there and say, okay, that's his opinion. I can just move on. And when I'm on this World Wide Web, I know that there are billions of opinions. I don't have to listen to all of them, and I can just move on and go watch something else online. I'm not going to bookmark a page of someone I don't like. I'm not going to keep reading a page I don't like. And when you get blocked, you're not going to keep creating spoof accounts and other accounts to keep watching that person's content. And because the person who does that obviously has some sort of mental issue or they are sexually suspect because the only reason why you're going to keep going on to another man's page is if that person has some sort of some mental health issue or they just have something that they're struggling to deal with regarding their own sexuality. Because an ordinary man, again, is going to hit that red X and keep it moving. They're not going to create dummy accounts and continue to try to watch content of someone they don't like. They're not going to try to keep following somebody on social media. They're not going to keep making spoof pages with that person's name in it or variations of their name. They're not going to put pictures of that person on other parts of social media in the hopes of trying to taunt and intimidate them because they know that their time is precious. An ordinary man knows that their time is precious. But these stalker beta male Negroes, they're in a class all their own. I mean, these are guys who will get up at 4 in the morning to write an email to a man who they have never met in real life. These are the type of guys who will sit there and talk about some guy that doesn't even know they're alive. And again, these are sexually suspect behaviors because this is the type of behavior that females participate in. And this is the type of behavior that is, again, quite troubling for a heterosexual man to ever run into from another man. And it troubled me at 12 years old to see that type of behavior from 12-year-old boys. And it troubles me to see that other black men have to deal with this type of behavior But I want others to understand the type of behavior from these sexually suspect men, because it doesn't have anything to do with you. It has to do with their dysfunction. Because as a heterosexual black man myself, when I run into this behavior, I understand where it's coming from. And it all comes from this beta male not being able to understand his own sexuality, and him being insecure in his own sexuality. And when he sees another man being masculine and authoritative and being strong, it makes him uncomfortable, because he looks at himself and he looks at the way he's been socialized, and it makes him feel like there is something missing. And the thing that is missing from him is the fact that there was no man in his life to teach him masculinity and manhood. And he's learned this feminized way of being a man and socialized to this feminized way of being a man. And he doesn't understand how to be the man that I can be, because I've had men in my life who raised me like my father and my older brother and other men. He doesn't have that in his life. So when he looks at me, he's very troubled by that, and he feels like he has to stalk and harass another man because he's uncomfortable with him being a man himself. And this is another reason why he's a sexually suspect man, because he doesn't know how to be a real man. He only knows how to be a man the way women taught him how to be a man. And because he learned how to be a man from women, this is why he participates in all of these dysfunctional, borderline crazy, psychotic behaviors he participates in. Because again, ordinary men know when to put a period at the end of things. Ordinary men know when to move on, because ordinary men who have been raised by other men know that their time is precious, and they don't want to waste time out of their lives dealing with those who don't want to deal with them. And they understand that there are far more important things than getting upset because a man does not have a girlfriend, or a man isn't interested in being hooked up by them or the females that they participate in, or being on social media going back and forth with another man at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, writing emails, or as I call them, love letters to other men. Because again, they understand their time is precious, and that time can be used to do far more productive things than go out here and stalk and harass another man they just don't like. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct publications, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.